Hello and welcome to another video. I'm introducing a new project that I have just released several minutes before recording this. Auto type annotate. Now, the biggest complaint that I get when adding typing to a Python code base is, man, this is a lot of work. I have to annotate a lot of functions. I have to figure out all the return values and argument types, and it can be a lot of work. And it's pretty daunting to do when you're gradually typing stuff. What if there was a better way? And it turns out there's this tool that's been around for a while called PyAnnotate. Unfortunately, it appears to be dead. And it turns out that MyPy has some actual smart bits inside of it that can feed into PyAnnotate. If PyAnnotate still worked, we'll get to that in a second. But I wrote a tool which takes those smart bits of MyPy and just automatically applies them to your code, so you can sort of automatically improve your types automatically. Did I say automatically enough times? I hope so. All right, anyway, let's just show what happens behind the scenes and how this tool works. And then I'm going to show you some practical uses of it and the smart bits here. So just to get started, I'm going to make some Python functions that are, don't have type annotations, but are sort of obviously typed. Like here's a function which we know intuitively looking at this, it always returns none. So if we were going to be a human typing this, we would put arrow none there. Let's take another function, I don't know, add. Return x plus y. And maybe we have some call to add that's, 1 plus 2 is add 1 and 2. Something like this. And just some silly basic functions. And obviously we know that this is, probably float, or int, or something like that. But let's see if we can get MyPy to tell us what it is automatically, and then use the tool that I wrote to fill it in automatically. Just a very simple, silly example like this. But it feels like magic. It feels very cool. So first off, we're going to install MyPy and show you the bits that make this work behind the scenes. MyPy has this tool called dmypy, which is sort of a daemonized version of MyPy. There's docs on it here. It's the MyPy server. You can kind of think of it as like a way to cache MyPy results. I think it gets used by editors. I find it's really buggy, but when it works, it's kind of nice. But when it doesn't work, well, anyway. Let's run dmypy, which will start our daemon, and it'll run MyPy in the background. You'll see that it was kind of slow. The next time it's very fast. Again, it caches the results, so it's supposed to be speedy. And if we run dmypy suggest, we can pass it in a symbol such as t.f, which was that print hello hello world, and it'll recommend our type annotation for this. We can also do the same for add. That's what it was called, not g. And in fact, here you can see that it's recommending int to int. And that's cool and all, but we don't have a good way to take these and apply them to code. And unfortunately, well, I actually ruined my demo a little bit here, but do this real quick. Make a Python 3.13 virtual env. Unfortunately, PyAnnotate no longer works. PyAnnotate, because it is based on the library that was killed from the standard lib, called lib2to3. PyAnnotate help. It's dead. RIP. And no surprise from what we saw earlier that it hasn't seen a code change in 4 years. On the same subject, this dmypy suggest also hasn't seen a code change in a while, so it's a little bit buggy too, but it seems to be good enough for what we needed to. Okay, so that's kind of how it works behind the scenes. It uses dmypy, it uses dmypy suggest. Dmypy suggest also has a JSON form, and this is what PyAnnotate used to read in and apply, and the tool that I wrote also reads and applies this. Pretty cool. The tool I wrote is called auto type annotate, and you could pip install it, and it will pull in a tokenized round trip module, which I also wrote. It'll pull in PyUpgrade to make the annotations less ugly, and let's look at the help for this. Auto type annotate help. All right, it takes in file names, and you can optionally pass in -- application directories. I'll show you a usage of this in a sec, but this is useful if your source, if your code layout is in a source layout. And so then you'll pass this value into there, saying that you have source at dot and you also have source at source. If your tests are at dot. If they're not at dot, then, well, you can figure this out. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. But let's take auto type annotate and run it on t.py and see what it does. No output. Great. That's perfect because it annotated them for us. Look at that. Arrow none, int, int, int. It's really, really cool. I'm really excited about this. But you can imagine like letting this loose on your code base that has 30% type coverage and just having it improve that automatically. Now, there are some prerequisites to this, so I've sort of hidden away some of the difficult parts of this. And that is you have to get your code passing with these two options. Check untyped defs equals true. This is so that dmypy and mypy can better analyze types and functions that we would like to add automatic types to. And you also have to have it passing with local partial types equals true. And this is sort of just a limitation of dmypy. It uses this setting, and so unless that setting is enabled, dmypy is always going to produce errors, and my tool is fairly timid and it's not going to attempt to apply type annotations that don't have errors. And so kind of need to get these two passing first, and I sort of skipped over that here because I wrote code that passes those. Once you've done that, you need to have dmypy running or dmypy started and have it happy with your code. And so you can do that by running these two commands. And here's an example output. We already did that for our code here. And then you can just pass auto type annotate. I've gone ahead and done the slow part for you. This actually takes much, much longer than mypy takes to run for at least the initial run. I don't really know why. I kind of have some ideas because it does more like incremental type checking, whatever that means. But this is slow, so I skipped it for you. But I'm going to call, well, I guess I first have to install it. Auto type annotate, because I'm on a different computer here. Oh, I guess it is installed. Okay. Auto type annotate, and we're going to do application directories .:source because Sentry uses a source layout. And then, I don't know, we'll just find all the files that are Python files. Maybe we'll grep. I know the issues team was really wanting to improve their type annotation. So let's just run it against all of the issues Python files. And you just press enter and let it go. Sometimes it'll tell you things that it can't annotate. So for instance, dmypy says that this has a decorator that doesn't know how to do. And so my code spits out this, dmypy spit out this, etc. And so if you see no output, then it's done everything successfully, but sometimes it will need to, it'll need to pass stuff that has errors or whatever. No annotations without errors. So this is a case where it tried to add annotations, but anything that it attempted increased the number of error counts. And we're trying to do automatic typing where we don't increase the error counts. But anyway, once we've run that, we can look at some of the outputs. And I'm really excited about some of these outputs. They're really cool. Oh, this is one I ran earlier. So spoilers, this is another file that was able to be improved automatically. But you can see here, like, you know, it noticed based on the calling and return values that this had to take request and stir and return bool. And I didn't have to do that, which is great. Now, some of the types that it adds are a little bit wonky. Let's see if we can find some of them here. Oh yeah, and it'll add imports where they're needed, which is also nice. Let's see if I can find one of the bad ones. Yeah, here's one that's kind of silly. Like, this function technically can take any object because it's specifically checking for dictionary. I probably wouldn't have written that annotation, but it works. It's correct. Where's one of the weird ones? We got one weird one on stream earlier today where it added tuple stir 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 stir. Is that one in here? No. Anyway, sometimes the annotations it adds are a little bit not great. Yeah, I guess maybe that one wasn't in this batch of code. So you might want to look over the output and, you know, code review it, but it's still pretty good and it still helps a lot with, you know, oh great, I don't have to go in here and add arrow none in this function because it already did it for me. Now I have an opinion about typing tests, but that's separate from this. But I'm really excited about this tool and I hope it can help you out as much as it's going to help us at Sentry. I actually wrote this on stream. So if you want to watch the VOD where I created this tool from scratch, well, not really from scratch, but sort of from scratch, the Anthony Writes Code-VODs channel, this auto typing Python VOD is where we made this thing happen. Wow, it's exactly 3 hours and 30 minutes. Anyway, I'm excited about this, and yeah, hopefully if you have a partially typed code base, you can be excited too. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. If there are additional things you would like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.